let's go from that to this. CeeDee Lamb said in an IG Live interview that he had spoken with 3 teams in particular, as we are about 2 weeks away from the draft, right? And I'm going to lay them on you one at a time to get your feelings. So the first one that he mentioned was the Jets at number 11. How do you feel about that?
I feel like right now that's his most likely destination. I'm actually going to be piecing together a mock draft here pretty soon of my own. I usually do one every year. I'm excited to put it out. But right now, if I had to put a mock draft and I were anticipating what's going to happen, not what I feel should happen, I would say CeeDee Lamb ends up in a New York Jets uniform. Just because when you look at that roster, man, they lost Robbie Anderson to free agency, if I remember correctly. They don't have a playmaker to save their lives. And I'm not a huge Sam Darnold guy in my own right. So if you're going to make that guy the franchise quarterback, you've got to find established weapons. And to me, CeeDee Lamb is that dude. Now, I also feel like the Jets should really evaluate whether or not they want to take a left tackle. I feel like if Becton is there from Louisville, that's an option that they should really consider. But to me, that's where you kind of have to figure out what management really prioritizes. I feel like left tackle is easily a more valuable position than wide receiver these days in the NFL. But at the same time, it's hard for me to overlook the talent of CeeDee Lamb. And so for that reason, the New York Jets being one of those 3 teams doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I feel like at the end of it all, he's probably going to end up in a Jets uniform.
I would disagree with you for a reason that you brought up. I don't know that Becton would be there. I might actually try to trade up to go get Wirfs because I like him that much. And that tackle position is one that lasts for a decade, not a few years, but several. And you have the most upside from that, and quite frankly, the highest floor, right? Not just from his athleticism, but just by the nature of the position that he plays. And if you can seal that left side, if you can make sure that it's your Joe Thomas position on a bad team, you give Sam Darnold an opportunity to do what he does best, and one of the reasons why that you drafted him so highly. I get not everybody is a Le'Veon Bell fan. I am of his game. I enjoy it. I also think you can get a wide receiver late in this draft, let alone in the NFL, and I think it's an easier position for you to get in free agency or via trade than any offensive tackle that's worth a damn. I mean, take a look at Jack Conklin and how excited Cleveland was to get their hands on him coming out of Tennessee. So I'll push back on that because as much as I love CeeDee Lamb, he plays a dependent position, and on a team where you have so many holes to fill, as a general manager, I'm not gonna bet it all on skill guys in the first round unless I need a quarterback. And we all know the quarterback's a little bit different. I'm going to go with interior linemen, defensive or offensive, depending on my need and the best available. So I could see it from your standpoint, absolutely, because losing Robbie Anderson was also a move they wanted to make by letting him sign with Carolina, but also not something that is a death blow. Like if they'd have lost a outstanding offensive lineman or defensive lineman, then I would be concerned. But you got Quinnen Williams on one side, you got Sam Darnold on the other. Now let's see if we can't protect Sam Darnold for a little bit longer. Also, you weren't bad last year. Your quarterback had mono. I don't want to say that the Jets are better than we think, but I certainly think that roster's talented, and I certainly think that if you can just solidify the offensive line, you're going to be a lot better. Let me move to the next team he said he spoke with, and that would be, surprise, surprise, the Raiders, for which, there's lots of thought out there to say that the Raiders should take a CeeDee Lamb. What do you think?
I think that if they have the opportunity to, they definitely should think about it. I mean, I feel like Gruden's the definite wild card in the CeeDee Lamb race because in the blink of an eye, he could make some sort of move and grab him whenever he wants. But at the same time, you just never know what's going on in that guy's head. And so for that reason, when you look at the Raiders, they got a decision to make a quarterback. I mean, Carr, bringing in Mariota, if I remember correctly, he's now the highest paid backup QB in the NFL. I mean, I don't know what their projections are at the quarterback position, but if you're going to evaluate these guys, you better have some sort of talent so that you can just purely evaluate them and not the other terrible pieces around it. So if I'm Vegas and I'm trying to get some dudes to surround these questionable quarterbacks with, I know CeeDee Lamb is going to give me my very best. I know they're also thinking about Jerry Judy pretty heavily. I wouldn't blame him for taking either. But at the same time, I just think CeeDee Lamb, when you're looking at what the Raiders want to do, you need a sure-handed wide receiver. In my opinion, CeeDee Lamb is one of the best, if not the best. And so for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he ends up with Vegas. And I think it would honestly be a pretty decent fit.
I'm with you on they need a wide receiver, and they can afford to because they've done a lot of work on the front end, and they've given themselves all of these picks by, trading away one prodigious talent and seemingly drafting another one with that pick in Josh Jacobs, who I'm a huge fan of. I have his autographed jersey in the living room because Tulsa McLean, that's what we do in North Tulsa. I appreciate that. And when Dax Hill gets there, I'm going to get his jersey. And I already have Justice Hill's jersey. And, so forth, so on. But those are my guys. North Tulsa kids, I have my entire heart. And I'm so glad that they used that pick and it's panning out. That said, they need a wide receiver, even if it ain't for Derek Carr, just for that offense. As much as you might want to throw shade at Amari Cooper and how he fits or doesn't fit into their scheme, it was clear to everybody just how devoid of talent they were last year at that position. Now, if CeeDee Lamb is available, yeah, especially if T. Higgins and Jerry Judy are gone, which is on the table, right? It's a possibility. But I wonder, because I saw Mike Mayock travel to Stillwater to see CeeDee Lamb. And I know it was CeeDee Lamb because that's what he wrote atop his binder when he was sitting in front of me at Boone Pickens Stadium. What I don't know is, did he do the same with Clemson, and did he do the same with Alabama? I would think so, because Mayock strikes me as the kind of guy who not only does his due diligence, he is disciplined in his evaluations. So that's an interesting space. I think wide receiver for sure, and if CD is the best available wide receiver, I think you take him. Now, if it's a conversation between Jerry Judy and CeeDee Lamb, pick one. What don't you like about the other one? Like, that's what it comes down to. Like,
you can't go wrong either way.
Yeah, it's like I don't like his dreads. I like his dreads. I don't know. Like, it feels at this point like it's an either or proposition. I get the comps though, right? We talk about CeeDee Lamb being comped to DeAndre Hopkins, or Gil Brandt gave it to Des Bryant. What he's saying is the dude's catch radius is half the football field. That's what I read there, right? And it's not that Jerry Judy's catch radius is small. It's just that ain't the way that he has been taking apart defenses. He catches the ball in the right spots at the right time because he's running such great routes, and he's stupid fast, right? He's a 4.4 guy. Do I have that right, Colin? 4.3, 4.4?
Yeah, I think he was like low 4.4s.
That's what I thought. So, I mean, if you want straight line speed, fine. But in that offense, it feels like you want a guy that's going to make plays after the catch, and that's CeeDee Lamb's bag. So, again, you could talk yourself into either one of them, but I'm with you. If Lamb is the best available, absolutely. If you've still got 3 wide receivers there that you like, you're really going to have a hard time there, and I think that's a challenge that Mayock and John Gruden want. The last team that was brought up for CeeDee Lamb in his IG Live interview was the 49ers at 13. 11, 12, and 13. And we'll get to the Cardinals here in just a second, but what do you think about the Niners talking with CD?
Well, the Niners are really intriguing. I think if they can pull that off, that's a huge boost for a team that's definitely on the rise. I mean, look, I know that a lot of people aren't exactly enthusiastic about what the 49ers do offensively from the terms of Jimmy Garoppolo being kind of boring, but at the same time, I'm a huge fan of the young Shanahan leading the way. I love his offensive game. I think he calls a great scheme. I think CeeDee Lamb in that offense would be very, very lethal. And so for that reason, when you talk about, for example, like when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta and Julio Jones was going bananas, it was just so much fun to watch this guy not only dominate from a physicality standpoint because Julio Jones is that dude, but at the same time, Shanahan's calling this guy open, and you're thinking, how is this guy who's so big and so fast and so physically imposing open on almost every single play? It's because of Shanahan. I think that's exactly what he could do with CeeDee Lamb. And if that works out, man, I mean, CeeDee Lamb going out there to the Bay Area, that's a nice fit in my opinion. It is a surprising one, but if it works out, I would be very, very happy if I were one CeeDee Lamb ending up in that golden and red uniform.
I don't see the fit, man. I don't see the fit. I see Deebo Samuel out there, who they went in a bunch of end-around stuff to and was a physical presence for them on the outside. We all know about Kittle. We know that it's insert running back here, even as I think Mike Breida and Raheem Mostert ought to get more credit than they do. But, Kyle Juszczyk is one of the last great, if not the last great fullback in the NFL right now. And so much of that offense, as you just said, depends on how Kyle Shanahan schemes it. And what he schemes it to do is run the ball. And because they're so good at running the ball, you can have guys running free. You can have guys that get man coverage. You can also get some really intense patterns out there where you have defenders that are getting crossed up and their pattern matching defense is not always as sharp as it should be. But what CeeDee does well ain't what Jimmy Garoppolo does well. You know what I mean? Like that dude's a West Coast quarterback if ever there was one. And I say that not necessarily mean it as a dig. I just mean do what you're good at. And if you're Rich Gannon, on the cover of Playgirl, then be Rich Gannon on the cover of Playgirl. It's fine. But why would you draft a dude that stretches the field and takes advantage of basically having a safety over the top more than anything else? Like, he's that guy. He likes having the safety over the top of the cornerback. He likes having the corner think that he is safe. He also likes challenging your flags and your post. He can run digs, and he did, and he can do the jet sweep thing, and he did, but that was because I'm not certain that Jalen Hurts was the best option at quarterback for CeeDee Lamb, especially of the three that he's had, right? So maybe if that's what you think you have, and that's the kind of style you want to run CeeDee Lamb through, is kind of like what he did last year, where it's, hey, we're going to dump it to you when we can, but for the most part, you're going to catch a bunch of this stuff and then try to turn it into big gainers on your own. Didn't you draft Deebo Samuel to do that? Like, I just, it's curious to me. Now, maybe they're thinking that he falls to them because John Gruden fakes everybody else out and takes an edge rusher, and perhaps the Jets take an edge rusher or another wide receiver not named CeeDee Lamb. I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and I thought they were going to do something entirely different with that pick. All right, so now let's talk about the Arizona question. They're at 8, right? They made the trade for DeAndre Hopkins, which feels like Steve Keim went to Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury and said, you guys want the dude that's like DeAndre Hopkins, or you actually want, just DeAndre Hopkins? And they were like, right? And it was like, wait a second, you can get us DeAndre Hopkins? Yeah, I can get you DeAndre Hopkins. Make the trade. Like, it was like, I felt like that's how they had to go. Because we were doing, yeah, he fits right in. He'd be great. And then it was like, no, we'll just get you the real thing.
Bro, and they got him for a bag of potato chips, too, because right. Mr. O'Brien doesn't know what the heck he's doing down there in H-Town.
Goodness me. He is playing with Texans' feelings like they just don't matter, man.
Hey, but that's a great pickup on the other end of things. Now, obviously, that certainly impacts the guy we're talking about.
Yeah. So where do you think? Do you think they're playing coy and they might make a move to go get Lamb to pair with Hopkins, knowing Larry Legend's only going to play for so much longer?
I would help pay that contract. That's how bad I want to see that thing trio. Like, that would be so much fun. We have CeeDee Lamb, Larry Fitzgerald, and DeAndre Hopkins all in the same receiver core. Just think about that. Like, I can't even fathom what Kyler Murray could do with all of those weapons at his disposal. That being said, I don't know that's the move that's going to happen. In my opinion, I think it would be really fun, not only just a fun move, but I think it would really help them moving forward, because once Larry Legend retires, you definitely want someone to kind of offset DeAndre Hopkins. And in my opinion, you get CeeDee Lamb, a talent of that caliber, paired with those two kind of guys, have him learn under them for a year or two. I mean, there's no telling how much better CeeDee Lamb could be, but if anyone's going to get it out of him, I feel like those two guys could certainly do it. And so I feel like if you want to try and make this offense a Big 12 caliber, Cliff has got to go get that man CeeDee Lamb. Like, go get this dude. You know he's got the great chemistry with your quarterback. You know he's going to be one day one of the better receivers in the NFL, in your system specifically, because he's probably comfortable with it. That being said, I think the smart move, and we would all kind of agree here, is to go get Kyler Murray some protection. That Cardinals offensive line is bad on a good day. And I don't really think they have anything figured out at this point. I know they brought in a couple of guys in the offseason, but you got to go get somebody that can help keep Kyler upright, because as good as he is running around, Kyler Murray's even better when he has time in the pocket. And so for that reason, I would love to see CeeDee Lamb. Like, I will do anything to see him in a Cardinals uniform with all of those other players. But at the same time, I'm expecting Arizona to look elsewhere because, as we mentioned, they didn't just go for the next DeAndre Hopkins. They went and got DeAndre Hopkins for nothing, and now it's time to make your roster even better incrementally with other pieces surrounding.
Yeah, shout out Bill O'Brien picking up Brandon Cooks and actually sending back a second and a fifth, and I'm going, what are you doing? Anyway, I'm with you. I'm with you in that I expect them to make a move at offensive line, not because I believe the offensive line was so bad as many do. I think Kyler was a rookie and he held on the ball too long, because if you're looking at their pass rush win rate, they're giving him the appropriate amount of time in the NFL to get the ball out. Like, I want to say it was up around 3 seconds or just under, right? 2.5 seconds is all you're promised, right? That's good. He's getting time. He's just moving because he's a rookie and he can move, right? On the other hand, you already have a stable of wide receivers, man. You have DeAndre Hopkins now to go along with Larry, but you also have Andy Isabella. You also have Christian Kirk. You also get Hakeem Butler. We just going to act like the dude that everybody compared to LeBron James playing wide receiver ain't there. You know, you can get...
That's my guy.
Well, I mean, look, I will never forget him dragging Curtis Bolton's dead body over the center of Ames. Like, it was just... It's going, wait a second, that's a wide receiver. You know, the other guy that strikes me was DeQuil Williams. Remember Duke Williams and how large he was? Mm-hmm. And we're going, wait a second, that guy doesn't play wideout. That's an edge rusher. That's a defensive end. Not in Malzahn's offense. That guy catches passes. And we're going, wait a second. No, I think that they have an embarrassment of riches as it stands. And even that was even before they got DeAndre Hopkins. I would put them up there as a top 5 receiving core. So I think, yeah, you make an upgrade at offensive tackle if you can, if Mekhi Becton is there, if you can get him in shape, if you can coach him up. And I think that's going to be the challenge, right? Tristan Wirfs is ready to play tomorrow. He's in shape, his head is in the right space, and he's a superior athlete. Mekhi Becton might be a better athlete than Tristan Wirfs, and that's a 315, 20-pound man that ran 4.8 in the 40. Tells you a lot. But it was about him being in shape and about his head being in the game. And what we learned is you draft the talent, right? Because you can't teach talent. You hope you can teach him the game and that he'll listen to you. So if you're an offensive line coach at Arizona, you're either going to be told, make it work, or you're going to go and be asked, can you make it work? And then give your definitive answer. I go back to what I say. I use my first round picks on interior linemen, if at all possible, right? Unless I have an absolute glaring need at a skill position that just can't be ignored, or something I don't think I can get in free agency because I'm strapped, like New England Patriots, for instance. I'm gonna go get the offensive lineman.